And joining on the line, great to welcome to Flow, Fanny Lumsden. G'day, Fanny. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you going?
Absolutely fantastic. Finally, we get to have a chat. I hear your name mentioned so many times when I'm talking to other artists about the co-writes and the collaborations you do with them. Everyone speaks so highly of you, so you must be really, really good.
Oh, as you mentioned, I'm paying them well.
But I'm serious that your name comes up so many times, and everyone does speak highly of you. And one girl said to me that it wasn't so much what you were saying, but what you weren't saying with the relation to the way they were doing the song that had the greatest impact. So I kind of think you understand what I mean.
Yeah, that's so nice. I love songwriting, and I've loved doing collabs with a lot of range of different people. And songwriting's such a strong tool, and it totally is. It's just, it's like poetry in that. It's more about what you're not saying than what you are. So I'm glad that translated.
It certainly did. For those of us who are new to you, so how did your life in country music, how did it all begin?
So I grew up at a farm in Western New South Wales. I've kind of, been surrounded by, the kind of by country music and storytelling from a really young age. My dad writes bush poetry and, grew up, riding horses and going to the bush and doing all that kind of stuff and working on the farm. And so, that kind of side of things it's more kind of what I've grown up in, definitely. And traveling around, regional Australia is kind of how I spent my whole life, really. But in terms of music, I also played a lot of music growing up. But I went away and did a science degree, and I wasn't really going to do it as a career, and I kind of just fell back into it by accident, really. And the stories that I've told have always been about regional Australia. Yeah. And so it wasn't so much that I was like, I'm going to be a country singer. It was more like, these are the stories that I want to sing and tell about, and it kind of happened that way. And then, I was playing with the band, and we started a tour called the Country Tour back in 2012, where we put on shows in halls in regional Australia, and that has kind of taken on its life of its own, really, and kind of accidentally just kept growing and really built me as an artist, really. And we've played in over 200 halls all over Australia, and they apply to host, and we take a full band, full kind of production show to these little places, and that's been a huge part of kind of my, I suppose, story up until now. I just released our third album, Fellow, at the start of the pandemic, which was obviously a bit of a roller coaster, but it's like really kind of blown my mind how well it's gone, and how I don't know, those kind of stories and songs have translated through this kind of wild time. And it kind of got us to a place that I just never would have even dreamed of. Look, basically, we're very DIY, and we're very like, let's just kind of crack on and give everything a go ourselves. And so, it's been pretty mind-blowing the last kind of 2 years, really.
What about your science professors? Do they sort of go and, with a tear in their eye that it's their loss, or...?
I don't know how good I would have been at science in the end, actually, to be honest. I was probably trying to tell them stories, and they were like, no, it's more based on facts, actually.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, I think it's their loss is our gain. And I guess that's the easiest way to say it. And I'm glad that you've done that. And I like the way the old school way that you're talking about, just hitching up the van and just touring around to the old town halls. And it does bring back memories of 40, 50 years ago when that was the done thing. Yeah,
it's interesting that actually we we kind of did it out of necessity at the time, and I'd always wanted a little old caravan, and I couldn't really afford anything fancier anyway, so we had a 1978 pop-top Miller that we lived in, my husband and I, and then to kind of make ends meet, we would put these shows on. And because I grew up in regional Australia, that was the meeting place that I understood and knew how to put on shows in those halls, and how to communicate to regional audiences and put on those community events. And so it was all kind of part of what I knew, and it kind of was only really in retrospect that I looked back and was like, oh, that's literally what they did. That's what Slim and Joy did. And and definitely, I never even knew their story back when we started that whole thing ourselves. So it's obviously just kind of what works when you kind of grind it down to the nuts and bolts. And so, yeah, it's definitely been a really great journey, and then has built us up this incredible, supportive community around us as artists as well. And so I work really heavily with my family, so my husband is in my band, and my brother, and my beautiful band of circus. Well, we call ourselves the circus because it's pretty wild affair. But it's been a really great kind of foundation, I suppose, to kind of getting to where we are now. And Fellow, the album has just kind of taken us onto this whole new level of interesting places and songs and people. And we spent last year, we had to cancel a lot of it, but we've been touring with Paul Kelly, and that's been a whole new amazing kind of experience. And we got to play with John Williamson and lots of people that I've kind of looked up to as a young person as like a storyteller and kind of way of doing their own kind of thing as well.
Well, how has it been? Because they're two great songwriters, and they've written about this country and you can feel it in their lyrics and in their songs. What have you learnt from them that has helped you with your songwriting?
I think just their real integrity and their honesty and their curiosity. Like, they're really curious about everybody. Like, they're really... We've had a really positive experience with both of them. Like, they both really are interested in what you've got to say, and I think that really just, you can see that in their work. They, they're curious about people's stories and what happens outside themselves, and so that is really interesting. And it also, converts into great songs because people can then see themselves reflected in their songs, and that's, a really powerful kind of tool. And, they're both really humble and lovely and obviously excellent, and just work hard at their craft as well. So it's been really awesome to kind of be on the road with them, and we've got a bunch of Paul Kelly shows still coming up, which we're really looking forward to, that were postponed from last year. And so that's been really great. So really looking forward to getting back on the road with those.
So when you're travelling around, and you've obviously travelled around this country a fair bit, Fanny, that the people that you meet, do their stories ever surprise you, and how it filters into your songwriting? And does it matter who it is that you meet, that you don't sort of try and search out, I'd like to have someone like this, or you just let it, just how it happens is so organic? Oh, yeah, I definitely just let it go. I definitely try. I think the more you try and curate it, the worse it is, or you kind of fail a little because you're looking for something that might not be there, or you miss the really important things or the kind of unique things that happen, and just going with the flow and letting that all kind of come to you. And sometimes it's like much later on that you kind of realizes that story kind of needs to be told, I find. I don't really put too much pressure on it. I find otherwise it becomes a little fabricated. Yes, and that fabrication, the listeners pick it up very quickly. They know. People aren't dumb; they're pretty smart. So you can't really hoodwink people. I don't think. My kind of philosophy with songwriting and storytelling is just to be as honest as possible, and just say it how it is. And then people love that, and well, they tend to. I hope they do, and they respond to it. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Well, you got a song. I know I do as a listener. You got a song out at the moment. It's called Tidy Town, and I love the video for it. And so I need to ask you one of the things though. There in the video, there's a sign that it took me back to a country town that I stopped into, and there was this sign, and it just made me smile. And I know many people will know this sign; they will have seen it everywhere. And it basically says, "Do you want to talk to the man in charge or the woman who knows what's going on?" And it just took me back to that absolute little cafe where I stopped in, and it was a little town. So it was something that I saw in your clip, and I went, oh wow, and it just took me back to that place. Yeah, it's a really great sign. That one's in the Mechanics in Tumbarumba. So I live on the western side of the Snowy Mountains now on a farm, and Tumbarumba is our closest kind of shopping town, if you will. And we filmed a video clip for Tidy Town there. I was 38 weeks pregnant when we filmed it. And did notice. Wasn't going to say anything, but did notice. Would have noticed. Couldn't hide it. And yeah, it was a really great experience. And that sign is
kind of those kind of little bits of towns, I think, are what are those honest little pockets and little kind of, like they jog a lot of memory for a lot of people, which is awesome. And I love that as well. It kind of really spoke to me, definitely, that sign. And yes, we filmed that all through town, and I was a mechanic. I have this kind of ongoing fascination with becoming a mechanic. When we won our first golden guitar back in 2017, I think it was, I told this story about how the first time I went to the Golden Guitars, I'd told everybody that I was a mechanic and not a singer-songwriter, because everyone was just saying, "Oh, I'm a songwriter," and I was like, "Oh, I'm a mechanic," and I just kind of went with it for the night, and people, just were like, "Oh," and then winning that award, I'd actually gone and I was wearing this denim jumpsuit, and I actually just looked like I was a mechanic. And so the year that I was receiving my first golden guitar for being a singer-songwriter, I looked like I was an actual mechanic. So it's had this beautiful theme that it kind of runs through. So we shot some of the clip at the mechanics, and then went to the butchers and shot some there. And then I also drove a B-double truck in an 80s wedding dress. And look, the reason I did all of that is because the song is about how small towns is so much more than meets the eye. Like, a lot of people make quick judgments about the people and about what it must be like to be in a small town, but they're really complex places, and there's a lot more there, so you've got to kind of dig a little deeper. And that's why that imagery was pretty confusing. Like, why is this pregnant woman in an 80s wedding dress driving a B-double truck? There must be more to this story.
And there is.
It was a really fun few days shooting that clip. A bit exhausting, to be honest, but yes.
I just like even some of the scenes in the butcher shop and that, because when I'd go to visit my grandparents and we'd go to the butcher, and we always used to just slice off a little bit of Fritz to give to me because I was a wee lad. But just seeing the images of the sausages hanging there and the big steaks, and it just was like, yeah, I remember that. And it's like now it's also clean and clinical and healthy. But it was like, yeah, we survived all that.
Yeah, exactly. You can smell it, can't you?
Yes,
I think one thing I really love doing, and like we've been doing since the start, is with our clips is really capturing that kind of everyday of rural Australia. Not fancying it up, not trying to make it, what it's not, just kind of capturing it as it is in that moment. And therefore it does do that for a lot of people. And you can, it does bring up those memories, which is what I totally love, because, I had the same experience. I used to go into the butcher and they would, roll up some ham for me or something like that. And I'd call it a roll up, and they'd give me a little over the counter and be like, shh, don't tell anyone, give me a bit of that, and then off I'd go. So, yeah, I think I really love doing that.
Well, as a mum, is it important to pass all that on to, the new generation coming through? Because a lot of it's going to be gone. They're never going to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those businesses as well are just like, like they are what hold small communities together, because, you need all those small businesses to exist, to even have, kids for the schools and services for people on farms and everything like that. And so, if we can support them as much as possible, hopefully they will, continue as well. And yeah, like you said, if they don't, at least our kids got to experience a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just love the clips playing, and there's the sign. It just popped up in the scene as it's rolling on my screen right now. Well, Fanny, what's coming up next for you? You've got the song out, and that at the moment the video's out. So, and you've got something special with your album. You were telling me before.
Yeah. So we've so the album had it's called Fallow, and it had an exceptional run. It won the ARIA for Best Country Album in 2020, and then 5 golden guitars and the AAR award, and it just had this incredible run. But we really didn't get out to tour it as much as we usually would. We tour a lot usually, and so I felt like those stories weren't quite entirely told the way that they could have been. And so I went into the studio and we recorded a whole second version of the album. So we redid all the songs again, just a different way, just to kind of explore the possibility of them. And so it's coming out March 11 as a double vinyl and double CDs, and you can pre-order them right now. And one of the songs from that is also out called Dig, and so you can check that out on all of your DSPs and wherever you get your music.
So Tidy Town. It's got a great beat and groove with it. So what have you done to it? Can you sort of give us a hint? What have you done? What have you done to it?
Well, the good thing is that if you like the original version, it's still there. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun way to explore, I think. And I did actually make that one a little bit more acoustic because originally when I'd written it, I had a different kind of thing in mind. But
Yep.
yeah, we do love that groove. But yeah, that, like I said, that's the good thing about it. You can always listen to the old version if you don't like the new one.
And if you'd like to pre-order it, folks, just go to Fanny's website, and that's fannylumsden.net, and just click on the shop where you'll find Fallow and Variations and the Blue Swirl vinyl, and also other things, guys. You'll find you'll see it, a fanny pack of all the. It's just brought a big smile to my face when I thought that of the merch ideas you'd have, that would have to be one straight there. So what a brilliant idea.
Yeah, that and the I Love Fanny merch range has been keeping us on the road since about 2014. So.
And the flannies as well. So
yeah.
Do they come in extra cuddly?
They're called.
Do they come in extra cuddly?
Of course. Perfectly cuddly.
Okay, we need one for winter, I feel. It's going to be handy. Fanny, you said you're going to be doing some touring and possibly are you heading over this way at any stage? I know you did have some shows that were down, but they got sort of changed and all that because of what's going on. But are you likely to come back later in the year for us?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to get back over. We did just have some shows. We were meant to come over for the Fringe Festival and some country hall shows in March. However, they are postponed. But we will be there as soon as it's safe and right for us to get going again. And hopefully in July, I think we'll have a South Australian run. And we just absolutely love touring over there and have such a great time. So it's high on the priority list. But just keep an eye on my socials or website, and hopefully that'll be announced soon.
And just quickly, how's the baby?
Oh, he's good. He's a couple of months old now and 3 months old, and I've got a toddler as well. But yeah, they're both thriving, and it's yeah, I'm a boy mum now, so that's fun.
Well, Fanny, thank you so much for spending time with us today on Flow. It's been great chatting to you. I look forward to some future conversations as well. We've got everything here ready to go. If we want to know more, we go to your website, fannylumsden.net, and we can pre-order the album and check out the Flannies and all the other I Love Fanny stuff. It's all there. Thank you so much for spending time with us today on Flow. We've got the song here ready to go. If you could please introduce it for us.
I am Fanny Lumsden, and this is my song, Tidy Town.
They took out the 98, tidy town of the year. As the sign it clearly states there in red, is made from rain.